What up, guys? It has been a battle. And no, I'm not talking about the FTC versus Microsoft. I mean, it has been a battle for me to do this video. Oh my God, but here we are. I'm finally able to get into this whole little cubicle of mine and actually talk about it. Because yes, Microsoft beat the FTC. They got the preliminary injunction denied. They are able to go forward with the deal. But there is now a lot of drama and other stuff going to ensue, and we're going to discuss that right now. So let's blow some smoke, cap at some people, spread some salt, and have some fun. Let's talk ABK. So guys, just to make you laugh real quick and to tell you a really quick small story, this has been a battle to do this video. Since Microsoft came out and announced that they beat the FTC, I have literally gone through an emergency root canal, a couple medical emergencies, and for whatever reason, the cable company showed up outside my house and decided to break my internet doing scheduled maintenance. And I swear, I can't make this stuff up. It's almost like somebody's angry that I'm doing my coverage. Jim Ryan! So, anyways, moving on. So yes, at this point, we all know that the FTC has lost their court battle in federal court with Microsoft in trying to get a preliminary injunction to squash, destroy the ABK deal as we know it, preventing Microsoft from making the purchase. But the judge of the proceedings basically said that the FTC failed to meet its legal burden to put a preliminary block on the deal, which would have become the largest ever in the gaming industry. So this ABK deal is the largest acquisition to ever take place in the gaming industry. This is record setting. And it was also pointed out that the FTC also failed to show a likelihood of success on any theories of harm that they proposed. And that's the funny part. Multiple analysts from across the world all said that this deal is not anti-competitive and it has no harm to consumers. The only thing that the FTC could prove when it came to any theory of harm in the whole court proceedings was that they could only prove a harm to a competitor known as PlayStation, and that is not the FTC's job to protect competitors. It is to protect consumers. And that is why literally the FTC made themselves look like a horse's ass during these proceedings, because apparently they're worried more about competition and breaking up trillion-dollar companies because they have issues with Microsoft. To really show how the FTC was so desperate to protect Sony as a competitor, they used Mr. Robin Lee's testimony as a way of proving that Microsoft had intention to foreclose on PlayStation by holding back Call of Duty and making it exclusive to the Xbox ecosystem. But the court also wanted to point out that there was no documents that the FTC could provide towards that idea that Microsoft had any intent to actually make Call of Duty exclusive to Xbox. And to really hammer it home, the judge even pointed out that she questioned Mr. Robin Lee's testimony on how he didn't take into consideration certain data that he should have in making his formulas and his models and trying to prove that Microsoft had the intent to foreclose on PlayStation with Call of Duty. When it came to Sony PlayStation, Judge Corley made the comment, "The FTC insists Microsoft's offer is simply insufficient, and so arguing it relies exclusively on PlayStation CEO Ryan's testimony. The FTC's heavy reliance on Mr. Ryan's testimony is unpersuasive. Sony opposes the merger. Its opposition is understandable. Before the merger, Sony paid Activision for exclusive marketing rights that allowed Sony to make Call of Duty on PlayStation, but restricted Xbox's ability to do the same. After the merger, the combined firm presumably will not agree to such restrictions. Before the merger, a consumer wanting to play Call of Duty console game had to buy a PlayStation or Xbox. After the merger, consumers can utilize the cloud to play on the device of their choice, including its intended on the Nintendo Switch. Perhaps bad for Sony, but good for Call of Duty gamers and future gamers." She pointed out on how this deal is actually pro-competitive, not anti-competitive. So the FTC completely missed the mark. And the judge doubled down, also wanting to point out that in addition to exclusivity, Sony also uses its market power to extract other preferential treatment from third-party game developers, including earlier release dates, exclusive marketing agreements, and exclusive in-game content. Boy, I bet they feel like real idiots over at the FTC going, oh my God, what if Microsoft had an exclusive Christmas skin? Next time, do your homework, guys. And by bringing up the Nintendo Switch in Miss Corley's statements, she also wanted to emphasize the fact that the FTC lost yet another argument in the fact that they were trying to convince the judge to not include Nintendo Switch in the console gaming market because apparently it's underpowered by, according to Jim Ryan's standards, but it's actually selling better than the PlayStation if you really think about it. I mean, that thing literally sells gangbusters. And that's where the judge saw right through the FTC's argument and included Nintendo in the console gaming market. She did not listen to the argument with trying to also include PC. So yeah, Microsoft lost that side of the argument, but definitely the FTC lost the argument on trying to convince the courts that Nintendo is its own outlier. Yes, Nintendo is part of the console gaming market, and even the judge said that. Now, obviously, the FTC is not out of the equation just yet, but real quick, I want to cover that with this win in court, Microsoft now has an edge over the UK CMA, and it's pretty ironic that the day that Microsoft got this win in court, Brad Smith came out and made a statement that said, after today's court decision in the US, our focus now turns back to the UK. While we're ultimately disagreeing with the CMA's concerns, we are considering on how the transaction can be modified in order to address those concerns in a way that's acceptable to the CMA. In order to prioritize work on these proposals, Microsoft and Activision have agreed with the CMA that a stay of the litigation in the UK would be in the public's best interest, and the parties have made a joint submission to the Competition Appeal Tribunal to this effect. So this basically stops Microsoft and Activision from being on a hell-bent warpath on essentially trying to sue the CMA into the ground by appealing to the CAT Tribunal. And now it's a little bit of a different scenario, because from what it looks like is the CMA does want to release their initial findings on their initial block of the deal. They are still going to try to say that they have cloud concerns, but there is also now a little bit of a U-turn from the CMA. They're basically saying that they want to have a whole new investigation because of new evidence being presented. That's a little bit shocking to me, because Microsoft has not said or done anything that's new. It's just more like the CMA going like, well, can we have a second shot at this before the CAT Tribunal kind of make us look like a bunch of horses' asses with the FTC? But that is where also everybody, by having a little bit of a delay in me being able to release this video, some news has come out that Microsoft, Activision are exploring, air quotation marks on that. I haven't really seen too much on exactly what the definition of what this exploration is, but they are potentially wanting to divest just a little bit of control over certain Activision titles in the cloud gaming market over in the UK. So from what it seems is, regretfully, the UK gamers are actually going to suffer from the actions of the CMA, basically probably making it to where certain Activision titles do not end up in Game Pass, and that they are going to have to probably more than likely get these games from other means and possibly have to buy them and not even get them in a subscription service in the UK. It's going to be real interesting on what the outcome of that is. And regretfully, at this point, it just really sees that the UK gamers, in my opinion, are going to be the ones to suffer on that whole front. But let's find out what happens in the coming days, because Microsoft does have a little bit of a plan that just hasn't been fully revealed yet. Now, getting back to the FTC, at the time, the judge gave the FTC until this Friday, essentially the day this video is going to come out, to seek an order in the San Francisco-based 9th Circuit Court of Appeals to pause her decision. Otherwise, Microsoft is going to go forward with the deal. Microsoft even has this plan to try to close the deal by Monday. And that is where the FTC has a major uphill battle on getting this appeal to go through, because guess what? The FTC has come out and said that they are going to appeal this decision. Now, to make that even more funny, I do plan to cover this more in another video later this weekend, but the FTC, when they came out and said that they plan to appeal this decision, Lena Khan got grilled at Congress over wanting to make that statement, because at this point, the FTC is being seen as wasting taxpayers' dollars frivolously on trying to take on trillion-dollar corporations, because they're just a trillion-dollar corporation. They're trying to basically essentially block pro-competitive deals. And essentially, Lena Khan is out of control. And as a result, they're actually slashing the FTC's budget. And they're going to make it to where it's going to be extremely difficult for the FTC themselves to even pursue this appeal. And the Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals is also going to refer back to the federal judge's decision, because the federal judge put a lot of weight into that. And that's where a lot of people are trying to come out and say that, oh, she should have excused herself from the deal, because the Revolving Door Project pointed out that her son works for Microsoft. Microsoft employs thousands and thousands and thousands of people. And you're right. They went and found this one dude because they keep records on everybody, and they knew that his mom was a federal judge, and they somehow steered this to be in her courtroom. But there's a problem with that whole theory. Microsoft actually wanted this whole thing to take place in Washington's federal court, but the FTC wanted it in California's federal court. Guess who won? The FTC. It took place in a California federal court. So therefore, it was on the FTC's playing field. The FTC even knew about the judge's son, and yet they still asked for it to take place in the California federal courts. And to really double down on this, for all you guys that like to wear the tinfoil hats and play politics, the federal judge involved in this whole case, Miss Corley, she is a actual President Biden appointed federal judge. Lena Khan is a president appointed FTC chairman, and a president appointed federal judge had an issue with Lena Khan's assessment of the situation. Even she saw through what Lena Khan was proposing. So there's a large uphill battle for those that seem to think that Microsoft had the judge under their thumb and they were giving her some kind of incentive, like, oh, you better rule in our way or your son's gonna lose his job. Come on now. Really? Now, to get away from all the regulatory jargon, let's just real quick talk about how this is going to essentially shake up the gaming industry. Now, according to analysts, now that Microsoft is going to be allowed to purchase Activision, this essentially makes a Microsoft part of what I have always called the big three, but this solidifies the big three in gaming. You have Nintendo, PlayStation, and Xbox. These big three players in the gaming industry have essentially a stranglehold on the gaming industry, and anybody who gets into gaming at this point, we're talking the Googles, the Amazons, the Tencents. There's even been rumors of like WB, Comcast. I believe I also may have already said Amazon if I did, but there's a lot of people wanting to get into gaming right now. And this is where the analysts are pointing out that at this point with the big three, you cannot get into gaming organically. You just can't start out as this little minute microscopic player in gaming and grow yourself into something bigger. You're going to have to buy yourself into the market. And that's where the analysts are saying that the Microsoft approach is actually a perfect idea for this, where you start small, buying small developers and maybe even some small publishers. And as you acquire these, you slowly over time get it to where you can start purchasing big players like Activision. And that's where they pointed out that potentially we could see a company like EA or Take-Two purchased eventually, not, I don't know how soon, but within the next couple years. I don't see it being by PlayStation or Xbox or Nintendo. We really need to keep our eyes on some of the other players that are wanting to get into gaming, like the therefore mentioned earlier ones like Google's, Amazon's, WB, Comcast. There's a lot of people wanting to interject themselves, and also especially Tencent. but definitely this whole deal at this point is going to show that if you're going to get in gaming, don't half-ass it, be serious and be calculated, because at this point the industry is extremely competitive. So guys, thank you for tuning in. I hope you really enjoyed today's video. I do plan to do a little bit more of an in-depth video coming up in the next day or two on the uphill battle that the FTC is going to have with the appeals process and the hot water that Lena Khan has got herself and the FTC into with the US Congress. And I'll keep up with content like this and my future content and everything gaming related. Please like, subscribe, comment down below, all that fun stuff that YouTube likes to see. Also, please check out my end card here at the end of the video, explore my channel, check out my latest video. And I always end off with telling everybody that, in my opinion, the console wars are a complete sham. Please just play the content, the software, whatever you prefer, whatever you love on the platform that you prefer, no matter what anybody says. I am Centurion 1307, and thank you for watching.